everyone, welcome to the show. My name is Amanda Ostrander. I'm a teacher-turned-homeschooled mom, and this is Raising A to Z, a place where we talk about all things homeschooling. And today I'm going to give you a practical daily breakdown of how we use the Brave Writer program. So we've been using the Brave Writer program for about 2 years now, and we've been loving it. It is such a different approach to grammar, spelling, literacy, literature. It's so different. I find it to be a very gentle and very natural way to approach literature and literacy. My kids really enjoy it. And I'm going to give you a breakdown of exactly how that works and how it looks. We've been doing it, like I said, for 2 years. And in that time, we've done, I don't know how many. We've done Mr. Popper's Penguins. We've done Duet. We've done Trumpet of the Swans. We've done Nim's Island. We're currently doing Mr. Lemoncello. And I think we have 2 more scheduled for this year. 2 or 3 more. And we just love it. It has become our primary literacy program. I do use like a little bit of like a daily grammar book on the side. But in terms of like what we do with our kids every single day in terms of like literature and novel studies, this is it. This is by far our favorite. It is a little bit different than a kind of traditional novel study in the sense that it tends to be a little bit more holistic. And it's not necessarily super in-depth, like what is the symbolism and what does this mean and what is, it's not looking at all those things, especially not at the level that we're doing. It does include some of that once you get into the older books, like the older levels, but we're doing the DART level, which is for recommendation ages 8 to 10 is their recommendation for this. Zoe is 7 and has been doing it with some very minor modifications the whole time. Like it's very easy to adjust and modify. So it's a great option for like family style learning without having to like do a ton, right? So let me break it down what you can do. So they do have different programs. They do offer like writing classes and things like that. But we tend to stick to the literature singles. There's 2 different ways that you can do the literature singles in terms of like purchasing them. You can purchase them as one-offs, which is kind of what I do. I just purchase them, just whatever novel my kids are interested at the time. We buy them, I print them, I put them in my book. Just easy peasy, lemon squeezy. You can do purchasing them as one-offs. Totally a total option. The other option that you can do is to do the DART program. It is a 10-month program where every month they send you the singles for the newest book. When you do the DART program, you do get a discount versus doing like the singles one-offs, okay? So I think you end up getting like 1 unit free. You get 10 for the year, which is a lot of books in my opinion. But you get 10 for the year. And what you're getting in the DART program is you get, or whatever, Arrow program, Quill program, when you do the program, you get the newest ones. So every year they do 10 new DART books. They do 10 new Arrow books. Those are the different levels. When you do the program, you get the 10 newest books to be added to the program. So they go in. After that, and they get released on a monthly basis. So you don't really get to pick when those books come out. It's going to say, I'm just going to use the titles I have here. Duet is in September. Nim's Island is October. Mr. Popper's Penguins is going to be a November release. Like it tells you when they're coming out and you're kind of locked into reading on their program, which is fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that. That's just how that program works. What I do is I do the literature singles, which means once the book has been released in the program, so let's say they're doing Nim's Island and Nim's Island was released in September. In October, the unit gets put into the literature singles program, and then you can just buy the one-off and do it whenever you want. In that sense, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it just comes available for everyone else. So I do that because I like to pick my own books. It's my personal preference. I like to pick my own books. I like my kids to pick my books, help me pick my books. And I also like to put my books, if possible, I will try to find a book that matches our unit study. So for example, we're doing a unit study on kingdoms and classification of animals. I'm going to look for a book that is like all kinds of animals. We did a bird unit. We did Trump of the Swan for our bird unit. It was a fantastic add-on, by the way. But like, that's kind of how I like to do things. I just find it adds a little more cohesiveness to my homeschooling, but that's how we do it. And that's why we do it like that. The program gives you the exact same rundown as the singles, just it's the newest stuff and it's sent to you automatically every month. I think there is an option to switch out one book in the program, but you have to email them. So for example, let's say there's a book that you're like, we've already read it, or we don't want to read it. It's like not interesting to my kids, or I really wanted to do a different book. You can swap it out with a different book. But you can only do one when you do the program. In literature singles, you can do whatever you want. So we do the singles, and I'm going to walk you through what that looks like. I'm going to show you what I do for the one that we're currently working on, because that'll just be the easiest, because it's already set. So when you get the program, you get a lovely PDF that includes the printing license in case you want to go print it at Staples or something like that. You get the program package, and you also every time get the how to use the package step-by-step directions. So that comes with it every time. You don't have to print it every time. You can read through it, whatever. But this is like what you're getting. This is what's different every time. And so this one we're doing Mr. Lemoncello's very first game, which is going to be a tie-in to our Simple Machines unit. So this is what we do. This is what you get. It has everything that you need to do it. So it gives you kind of a little detail. It gives you recommendations on what to read in the book. You can follow this if you want. I'm not always a fan of the speed of it, but that's okay because I often slow my book reading down and that's okay. It's not super important. It does, but they do have the option. It tells you recommendations. It gives you your week by week, what you need to prep. Sorry, not your week by week. It gives you what you need to prep and what you're going to do with your kids. And then it also has your skills tracker. So it gives you the different things that you're going to work on in this unit specifically. And you can track those if you are a family that needs to do that. If you live in an area where tracking is required, use it. I don't, so I don't track it. They call it the spin and spiral, which is the next page. It gives you the spin spiral is basically what is covered, what's going to be covered. So this one, for example, is going to talk about onomatopoeia. We'll talk about nouns that can also be verbs. We're going to appreciate adjectives. We're going to investigate apostrophes. We're going to punctuate some dialogue, time travel with verbs. You learn about epiphanies, recognize the power of repetition, see why this is so amazing, and interject, as well as look at portmanteaus. Those are all the literary things that we're going to do in this unit. And if you're like, that sounds like a lot, it is a lot. You're going to cover a lot, but it's not going to feel like a lot. Like, it's going to feel easy. Okay. So that is what comes with it. And then we go through the things page by page. I'll walk you guys through that as we go. I'm going to tell you how I do this. So what I do is I start with my book and I like to do some prep ahead of time. Okay. So what I do is every week has a section. It has a little quote, a little excerpt. That's the word I'm looking for, excerpt from the book. So I like to go through and flag where the excerpts are. This is what I do before we even start. Flag the little excerpts. So 1, 2, 3, 4. They're flagged. I just find it easiest to kind of A, know where they are. But B, my goal is always to at least get to that by the end of the week that we do this. So it just helps me track how much reading we actually need to get done. It just makes it a little bit more visual. The one on the top is where we currently are in the book. Okay. So that's one thing that I do before I start the book. It's a personal preference. It's not required. I do find it helps. The other thing that I do is at the back of the book here, right at the end, once you've done week 4, before you get into the next one, the next thing, they have this list of big, juicy questions. Okay, where is it? There it is. Found it. This list of big, juicy questions. And so these are questions to ask your kids kind of randomly throughout the book. And it's things like predicting questions. It's what do you think is going to happen? It's how do you think this is going to make you feel? Have you ever been in something similar? What kind of challenges is the character facing? Like it's the deeper thinking questions. Okay. Because it's at the back of the book, forget to do them. Being fully honest, I forget to do them all the time. So what I do is when I do my prep, I write them all out on little sticky notes and I stick them. So I will do I'll do a section on each week and then just save the last section, which is like at the end of the book, for at the end of when we're done the book. So that is just, again, you don't need to do that, but I forget if they're not there. So I take 15 minutes and write them out and then I actually get through them. So that's how I prep. All right. Then what happens on a day-to-day basis? Because this is a question I've gotten by quite a few people. What does it actually look like? So daily, what you do is you're going to read. You read aloud. As the parent, you read the book. I sit down and read however many pages I want to get through that day. Usually my goal is anywhere from 1 to 3 chapters, depending on the book. This one, for example, we read about 3 chapters a day because the chapters are quite short, which is a weird pet peeve of mine as a reader. I don't like short chapters. Oh, we read another one too. Julieta and the Diamond Enigma. We read that one this year too. Anyway, that was another book that had really short chapters. That's not a thing. That's just a personal preference. Anyway, so we will read through and try to get through however many chapters we need to get through to reach the first flag by the end of the week. So I think the first flag was in chapter 11. We had a short week because we had a birthday party, but normally we would get to chapter 11. We're only 1 chapter off. But so to do that, I had to read like give or take 2 or 3 chapters a day. I would have gotten there and then pass. We were missing 1 day because we had a party and a field trip. So we didn't get through it, but that's okay. That's step 1. Step 2, we take our excerpt and this is our copy work. So my kids will go and they will copy. Alexi copied her copy work out. And the part of the copying that is probably the most difficult part is that you need to match all the aspects of the text. So if the text is indented, you need to put an indent in your text. If you got to make sure that you're matching all the punctuation, all of the hyphens, the capital letters, all of that. They're going to copy that out and that's important. Okay. So that's the first thing we do. And then for me, I do a section of questions. So this, let's say this is Monday. Monday, we're going to do this and then we're going to do our questions. What I then do is we get a bunch of highlighters and we do the what to note section. So this is the very next page. This happens every single week. You have your section is introduced. It has a little blurb. It talks about this. Fantastic. We read. Once they're done this, we then go in and we start highlighting the different things that it asks us to notice. So for example, this week in this section, it asked us to notice the indent in the paragraph. It asked us to look at the portmanteau, which is when you combine 2 words. So like marvelous and famous, the character's name is Marvelous, like marvelous and famous put together. Portmanteau. So we did indenting portmanteau. So I go through like, hey, 1 color, highlight the indent. 2nd color, find the portmanteau. 3rd color, they're doing capital letters. So they go through and I have them highlight all the capital letters in the passage. 4th is italics. So they had to find the word that was italics and underline it. That is what we do on Monday. That's it. We read, we introduce a topic with the copy work, and we do the indenting. I do add spelling words. That is the thing that they do recommend. It goes through and says how to teach this passage. And it goes through things you want to copy, what to do with copy work. It's right there for you. Make it nice and easy. Spelling, read the words aloud and spell them with your children. A goal of a spelling session as a dart is to give you a chance to highlight words that might be tricky to spell, and talking about the spelling is normal. So you might pick a couple words to talk about. I like to include a couple words and they have them like as like an extra spelling thing. That's just a personal preference. And sometimes sometimes it's not in there. Like right now Zoe's working on word families, so she has hers. So she has it and ut word families. That's what she's working on, but that's extra. Alexia have other words because I have to make it equal. So she's working on words that start with dis and miss this week. So that's extra. But I will pick some words and give them to them as spelling words. Just a little extra. So Monday we did reading, copy work, looking through what to note. Tuesday we do reading, copy work again, and then I will pick a section. Okay, so for example, this section is onomatopoeia. So I read the section on onomatopoeia. We made some conversations about onomatopoeia. We did the activity that's here. So we looked at the noun honk. We talked about different sounds that honked make. So that was like, the activity was toot your own horn, which was like describe different sounds of a horn, right? Because you can just say the horn went honk. Okay, but you could also like in the passage, the horn went squonk. So what does that sound like different? What kind of words would you use to describe a small car stuck in traffic? What about a trumpet? What about the herald of a king's court? Like what do those things sound like? So that would be like Tuesday. Wednesday is a grammar spotlight for us. That's what we would do. Wednesday is a grammar spotlight. And we're going to do reading, copy work, and then we do the grammar spotlight. So this is going to be something that we're going to do about the grammar in the book. Okay. So this one is about astounding adjectives. And so we're going to look at the passage. We're going to figure out what adjectives are, and then we're going to do the activity, which is going to talk about it. So in this one, our sentence was Professor Marvelmus gave his banana hat another hearty honk. And so here it's talking about like, is a banana an adjective? Yes, in this case it is, because it's describing what kind of hat he's wearing, right? So we're going to talk, there's conversations, there's little like activities, things like that to do. And then on Thursday, there's usually some kind of activity or a writing prompt or something like that, okay? That you're going to do, same thing, copy work, reading, copy work, and then there's a third spotlight activity. This one is the spotlight activity, which is aim some adjectives for your favorite noun. So you're going to make a whole list of adjectives, and you're going to like work on making lists of adjectives. That's Thursday. Friday is spelling test day. So Friday, you're going to read the copywork section to them, and they are going to write it out. And then you grade it as a spelling test, essentially, but with like making sure you're including all of those grammar things. The indent, the apostrophes, the capital letters. So it's not just spelling. That's what you do on Friday. And we also add our spelling words in. That's it. Then week 2 rolls around. You do the same thing with the next section. So the next section has week 2. And then again, week 2, we do our reading, we do our copy work, which is a new copy work section. We do our questions on Monday. And we do our what to note. On Tuesday, reading, copy work, and spotlight activity 1. Wednesday, reading, copy work, activity spotlight 2, reading, Thursday, reading, so on and so forth. Friday, you get to your spelling test. There are 2 spelling tests a month that are different. It's not just the standard copy work spelling test. 2 times a month. So it's usually week 2 and week 4, I believe. Yes. So week 2 is what we call French style dictation. So what it is, this comes printed in the book. You can just print one out for each of your kids. Week 2 spelling is basically, here's the paragraph, the passage that we worked on all week. There's words missing, and they need to spell the word correctly with the proper capitalization into the paragraph. That's week 2. Week 3 is a regular spelling. And then week 4, it's a different spelling test again. It is what's called reverse dictation, which my kids love for some reason. I don't understand. They love it though. It is the passage, and there are words that are spelled incorrectly. There are capitals that are missing, punctuations that's missing, and they need to go through and like correct the passage themselves. That is the thing. And then you're going to make sure that they found all of the mistakes. That's what you do on week 4 for spelling test. And so we do that on Friday before we head out to jiu-jitsu. And so that's kind of what you do daily. And then at the very end, once you're all done, you get to do a book party. And you're like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what to do for a book party. They give you it. Okay, there's a whole like 4 pages, a whole bunch of pages. How many? 40, all kinds of pages of things you can do for your book party. It's going to give you a little thing that you can have as an invite in case you wanted to like have a book party with multiple people. If you were doing this as like a reading club with friends, you could send out invitations. There's a nice little thing. You could also print these out and send them to your kids. That's fun. So here are some options of things that you can do. There's different like decoration ideas. So that's the first part here. We're going to decorate like a carnival. So they're talking about using red and white plastic tablecloth to look like a carnival. Purchase some red and white striped plastic bunting, which you could do. You're going to play calliope music. I didn't even say that word right. So you might do a selection of music from 16 top hits from 1968, which is when the book is set. One of the characters is dreams about an Eiffel Tower. So maybe you're going to put like a little picture of the Eiffel Tower on the wall. There's another thing here where you put 4 pennies in a small bowl, which is something that one of the characters did in the book. Those are decoration ideas that you could do. What else do they have? Gather some books that were mentioned from your library and maybe like peruse through them, because they have a whole selection of books that were talked about in this book. You can pull them out and have like go through and read the synopsis of the book and see if something maybe one of your kids are interested in reading. There's a whole section on snacks, things you could serve at your book party. So here they're going to suggest hot dogs and hamburgers because it happens at a carnival. Maybe you want to do peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because one of the characters talks about that's what they have every week for lunch on a certain day. There's 7 food suggestions to have at your party. None of them are complicated. Like I said, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. You can do popcorn, serve lemonade. Kid's name is Lemoncello. You could serve lemonade, right? Like Kool-Aid is one of the things. Like they have all kinds of like very simple things. And then they have a bunch of activities that you can do at your reading party. So they have this switcheroo game that is something discussed. They have like a balloon game that's discussed. There's always tons of activities, crafts, things that you can do at your party. When we did Nim's Island, we ate outside. We had all kinds of like tropical fruit and like different things like on like a fruit tray, because that's what she talks about a lot, eating tomatoes and watermelon and pineapples and all these things. So we put all those out on like a tray. We ate those outside, and they made a model of the island out of like different things they found. That was one of the activity suggestions. And then what I add to the book party, which is not in here, but my kids really enjoy, is we read the last like 1, 2, 3, however many chapters. You know what I mean? Depending on how long the chapters are. We'll read the last couple pages of the book together at the party while they're having their snack. And then I will ask them the final section of big juicy questions. It's not a lot. It doesn't feel like a lot, but we get through a lot of material in a month. So for us, I find 4 weeks is a little fast to get through. Typically we'll start the book and then we'll start the book and just read and kind of get into it for a day or two. And then we'll get into week 1, kind of like as like the second week. So we'll do 1 week of intro, then we do week 1, 2, 3, 4, and then like week 5, at the end of week 4, beginning of week 5, we'll do our book party and then kind of take the rest of the week off and then start a new one. So a book takes us about anywhere from 5 to 6 weeks to get through. That's just because of our pacing, and it gives me a little bit more breathing room in terms of like activities, field trips, that kind of stuff, because I can't always get through everything in a day. But that is kind of how the Brave Writer runs. It does have writing prompts throughout. We cover spelling and grammar. We cover like dissecting the books. We love it. It just feels very natural, and my kids are just like, they just enjoy it. The other thing that I will say about the Brave Writer is they do include, which I didn't talk about, when you start the book, which I should have said. Maybe you can put this in something again. The other thing that's included at the beginning of the book is the cultural context. So on week 1, we will do the cultural context, which is a nice little page that goes through different things you need to know about like when this book is happening, things you might need to think about. So for example, this book takes place in 1968. We talk about radios because televisions weren't super widely available. Radio was much more common. The Carnegie Library program, that's something that's discussed because kids might not know about that. We talk about rebus puzzles, kind of introducing kids to things that they maybe were not aware of, maybe just need to bring some cultural context in. Also, depending on the book, you will also get kind of a parental warning page. Okay. This is dependent on the book. So for example, let me give you an example. Trumpet of the Swan is an old book. When was it published? Here it says 1899. But it also says 1970. Anyway, it's an older book. So there's depictions in here of, for example, it talks about the boy and his dad are walking through the woods, walking like Indians, which by today's standards would not be an appropriate way to discuss that. So it has a section on how to talk about it with your kids, or if you want to omit, sometimes they'll say like, this line is not important to the book. You can just omit it and then continue on with the story, or how to change the line to make it more appropriate. It does have little keys and context things on it like that. Another one that I've heard has some is The Hunger Games, which is, I believe, in the Arrow, or maybe it's the next one up. The Hunger Games, which, if you don't know, is a book about kids who are forced to go into an arena and fight to the death. So it does have some warnings about like the death of a character. It will talk about, it gives you these warnings so that you know when it's coming, that you have some keys and some things to be able to discuss, and ways to maybe, if it's a book that is maybe a little bit more minor, how to, maybe you just skip that chapter because it's not really, there's a death, but it's not really important, or things like that. So it does give you all the things you need to be able to do this program successfully and comfortably without being like surprised by things, without having to be like, oh, we need to figure out how to talk about this. It's there. It tells you exactly what to do, which I find reassuring. That means that they've actually like read through them. They've taken the time to think about the cultural implications of their books, to think about how things have changed and aged over the years. They thought of everything, which I love. If you're like, hey, the Brave Writer is just not for us, but I'm looking for a book list, again, the Brave Writer booklet, if you want to just go to Brave Writer and look through their list of books, I have yet to find a dud. And I'm missing books. Julieta and the Diamond Enigma upstairs. And I also can't find Heartwood Hotel 1. I think Alexi stole it. Not stole it, but like she took it somewhere. Because I can't find it. We've read so many books off of this list. My kids have loved every single one of them. Even the books that I wasn't sure that they would like. I wasn't sure that they would like Duet. I wasn't sure about that. I thought maybe it'd be too advanced for them. They fought me on that one. They wanted it so badly. I wasn't sure about the Trumpet of the Swan either. Loved it. Limoncello, I was like, oh, this is probably one of the first. I was like, yeah, we'll try it. It's something different. It's very different than anything we've ever read. Obsessed with it. So, I don't know. Every single book I pull off that list has been a winner. And my kids absolutely love it. Like I said, it is a great program if you want to do it as a family. It's very easy to adjust it. So for example, for Zoe, who I adjust it down, I just take the passage and I just make it smaller for her. So for week 1, she just had to do this part, gave his banana hat another hearty honk instead of Professor Marvelous and the word squonk. So she had 3 words removed. Next week, when we do the passage, which is, this is the passage. It's Sunday, said Bruno, a day of rest. I'm too excited to rest. Luigi's whole body was buzzing. He couldn't sit still without squirming. I might give Zoe, it's Sunday, said Bruno, a day of rest, and just call it a day. Alexi is going to do the whole thing. It's very easy to adjust. I'm surprised at how much Zoe, I thought like she'd be kind of like, I thought she'd pick up a thing here or there, but like not be super into it and not get as much as she did out of it. She out answers Alexi sometimes because because it's not so much, there is writing, but it's not so writing heavy, and she can explain her thinking verbally. She's able to do so much, and she's able to show how much she understands and makes connections. And I'm always surprised by what Zoe pulls out when we do Brave Writer, because Alexi is a very advanced reader. Zoe struggles, and she does context, she does connections, she does predictions, she understands symbolism sometimes better than Alexi does. And it's just, I'm always impressed. I love it. So we love it. We will definitely be doing it next year. I've actually already started picking my books for next year. And I'm very, very excited. So we'll be doing the singles, because I'm not doing 10 books in a year. That's just too much for us. Maybe in the future, like maybe when they're a little bit older and they're able to like read along with me and stuff and able to handle a longer day, maybe we'll be able to do a book a month, but right now it's just too much. So singles works for us. We enjoy it. And that is how we use the Brave Writer program. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoy this. I will be doing a couple more reviews on some other curriculum that we use and love. And next week we'll be doing a review on the Good and Beautiful Science, because we love it. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe and click the bell. Consider following us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And if you're really loving the content, you might want to become a happy homeschooler. You can become part of our Happy Homeschoolers Club here when you become a YouTube member, and you get all kinds of cool things, including early releases, bonus videos, coupons. You get to pick what topics we're going to talk about on the YouTube channel. So you'll definitely want to consider becoming one of our Happy Homeschool members. So thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next week.